vegetables. But no. They said, when we was in Egypt, we had fish. Even though they were slaves and even leftovers, they still was complaining God's provision with what they had in the world. And some of you are still comparing your worldly life now with your sanctified life, and you're trying to measure the worlds together. But when you try to clash the worlds together, you're going to birth confusion. You're going to birth discouragement. You're going to birth being overwhelmed, because the Bible says not to think of yourself more highly than you are. In other words, when you go to the grocery store, don't nobody gotta walk down with the red carpet, because here you come now going grocery shopping, and you're getting so nasty with the attendant because they're not moving fast enough. Well, you gotta understand that God is trying to take the pride out of your life so you can become a servant and not need somebody to serve you. So what you gotta eat the news? So what you gotta eat chicken? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Well, I did strip, I boiled it, I barbecued it, I fried it. How well can you eat it and be grateful? Touch your neighbor and tell him, will you complain, or will you sit and be satisfied? And now we see here that they tried everything they could to make the manna taste like the food that they was getting in Egypt, but it never worked. Remember when your kids didn't want to eat something and all the faces they made? Imagine 2 million people making a face every day when they awoke to manna once again. Sometimes we face provisional problems in our situation. It may be some unexpected tragedy that befalls us and takes our funds. It may be medical bills or job cutbacks. It may be that there's just more month than there is money. Either way, I will remind you of something that we forget. Moses forgot it too. God did not call Moses to feed the children of Israel. He called Moses to lead the children of Israel. It is God's responsibility to feed his children. If you are facing provisional problem this evening, let me remind you that if it is you and you are his child, he is directing your life, then your provisional problems are his problems to solve and not your own. I remind you that he is Jehovah Jireh. I remind you that when he does the leading, he also does the feeding. Some of you are trying to do God's job. That's why you're discouraged. God never told you to be the provider. He never told you that your spouse would supply all of your needs. Matter of fact, the Bible says, he said that I will supply all of your needs, and nobody else is supposed to get that provision and that protection, because he is God. In other words, he never called you to be the breadwinner, although he said, I will bless you so you can be a blessing. But when there is a lack, he don't want you to be going around trying to solve the problem, because he is Jehovah Jireh. Touch your neighbor and tell him, God is my provider. Always like what the Lord gave them, but I never read anywhere that they starved to death. Moses faced a personal problem. That was another the reason why he was discouraged. Because of the weight of the load he was bearing, Moses allowed himself to become utterly discouraged. The word displeased means to be broken to pieces, to be utterly destroyed. Moses had a breakdown. If we are not careful, the problems we face in life can produce this attitude in our heart. It happened to Moses. It happened to Elijah. According to 1 Kings 19, it happened to Jonah. Jonah 4. It can happen to us too. What was the problem here? Moses had allowed the problems he faced to become larger than the God he served. Anytime that we allow that to happen in our life, we are in danger of a major breakdown. We need to come to the place where we remember that every problem we face has the potential to be greater than our ability to handle that problem. Since that is true, we need to keep our eyes on the Lord as we face our problems. We must remember that he and not us is the one who fights the battles of life. He fights and we just get to enjoy the victory. As Moses begins to talk to God about his problems, he talks to God is a way that reveals to us the condition of his heart. He takes a tone with God that is angry and irreverent. He shows us how not to pray in times of crisis. Moses prayed a prayer of confusion. Moses seems to be asking God why he seems to be saying to the Lord, these are your people. I didn't give birth to them. They are your problem and not mine. Why then am I having to bear them and their burdens? Moses couldn't grasp the why of the situation. Moses failed to remember that the details were God's responsibility and not his. God had called Moses to lead the people, not to feed them. We have problems in this area also. I hear people pray and I hear them ask God, why me? They will come to me and say, preacher, why is this happening to me? There is no good answer to our why questions. However, I will propose that we need to adopt a different mindset concerning the troubles we face. I will suggest that instead of asking why, we need to learn how to ask two different questions. Number one, ask why not me? Jesus said that we could expect trouble in this life. John 16 and 33. Job said that we could expect trouble in this life. Job 14 and 1. Why then should we expect to live free from troubles and trials? When troubles comes to you, don't ask why. Instead, learn to give thanks in the midst of trouble. Number two, ask what? When the Lord sends trouble into your life, remember that it must be part